The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
It's time for Walking Dead What Ifs. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. Before we begin, please consider checking out our channel if you like Walking Dead discussions or just podcasts in general. We also talk about conspiracies, paranormal, all kinds of cool stuff. And at the end of the podcast, we'll give some details on our Patreon, because I like to think if you make it through the entire thing, you didn't hate us that bad. So maybe you would consider the Patreon. But in the meantime, we're taking your Walking Dead what-if scenarios, and we're looking at the comments section of last week's video. In fact, there were so many last week that we didn't even get to finish, and I've seen where some people have reposted those questions onto, that podcast. So now we're back to discuss. So, JP, what are we starting out with?
Oh, boy, let's see. Kyle, excuse me.
Oh, the one and only Kyle.
The Kyle, king of trash people.
What's up, Kyle?
Which actor from The Walking Dead would have the best chance to survive a real zombie apocalypse, and which real-life actor should appear as themselves on The Walking Dead?
Oh, man, which actor do we think would actually survive the apocalypse?
Actually survive, I guess. Well, I guess Norman Reedus would be an easy answer, just because he does kind of seem like he's got the motorcycle.
I mean, he's got the motorcycle, but I mean the whole rugged outdoor thing is not. He's like a California surfer dude. I mean, slightly. I mean, he's. I mean, I love Norman Reedus, so I'm not saying any of this to disparage him, but I mean, the whole outdoors, surviving in the woods, I mean, that's not him. I mean,
well, he's the only one of them I've ever actually seen.
I would say Jeffrey Dean Morgan, believe it or not.
Well, he does have that ranch.
Yeah, and I know that and I don't know as much about the personal lives of some of the other ones. I'd like to think Andy Lincoln could just channel Rick and survive. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm guessing Jeffrey Dean Morgan's got to know a little bit about some basic. I don't want to say survival skills, but, I just feel like having that ranch gives him a little bit more of an edge because he, probably, I don't know if they butcher animals or not, but I don't know. He just seems a little more rugged in real life. Like, I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan seems more like a, kind of rugged guy in real life compared to some of the others. Andy Lincoln is amazing as Rick, but he's also, off mic. He's Andy Lincoln, and he's just talking about what it's like to be like Rick, and
he plays the piano.
Yeah, he does. He did that. He did that awesome.
Ooh, la, la.
Yeah, well, it was the Chandler. Chandler. Ooh, la. So I'm going to go with Jeffrey Dean Morgan. If you, the listener, if you know more about some of these actors' personal lives, let me know. But I feel like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, just to me, strikes me more as the, slightly more rugged than some of the others. I mean, I have no doubt that Norman Reedus isn't a manly man. I'm just saying, I don't. Think he really truly knows much about like woodland survival. I think he's very much more of a city boy, whereas Jeffrey Dean Morgan seems much more like a country kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about any of them behind the scenes, to be honest.
But you used to stalk their houses.
Well, that was just to look in their bathroom window. I just wanted to see them make. But anyway, part 2, which real-life actor should appear as themselves on The Walking Dead? I think Gary Busey would be an easy answer.
So not because I was wondering if he was talking about actors from the show or like actual like other actors.
I'm just taking it as just any kind of like Bill Murray in Zombieland.
Yeah. That's a good question. That definitely opens it up. It's Monday, so if I'm a little slower, please bear with me. I think JP and I both were about to not podcast and just go in our separate studios and take naps before we got on here, man. I'm struggling today. So you say Gary Busey.
My short list, Gary Busey, Jessica Alba, just because I'd like to see that sweet ass on TV again. I think, what's his name? Ted Nugent, just because I think he really probably would survive his crazy butt. Also a very, very smart guy.
Cat scratch fever.
Yeah. Man, he might end up like a real life beta. Just a former singer just lost his mind.
That's true. Yeah. Huh. I like to see The Rock.
Oh man.
Just because he's an actor, but The Rock is also a big I have no doubt The Rock couldn't put the smackdown on someone if he had to, so I'm going to throw The Rock in there. Are you having a sip from your Mountain Dew?
No, sweet tea, baby.
Oh, sweet tea.
Sweet tea. I kind of wish it was Mountain Dew. I could use some right now, but yeah, man, that would be my top 3. I would love to see them on the road together, having adventures.
If we do the top 3, I would. If we were to do 3, I would say The Rock.
The Rock.
Just because I feel like he would alpha male all over the place.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it would be very primitive. It's like, I mean, Rick, I know you bit that guy's throat out, but the best you could do with The Rock is bite his nipples off. He's tall.
And even then, man, I bet those nipples are hard as rocks.
Well, pun intended. I bet he'll just like squeeze you half to death. Yeah. The Rock, Sarah Paulson, because I like Sarah Paulson.
I do.
And
who?
Breaking Bad's very own.
Who? Tell me.
Who do you think?
Mike
Who of the
Ehrmantraut?
Breaking Bad cast do you think I'm going to say?
Mike Ehrmantraut. I forget his real name.
No.
He's too old.
Yeah, I don't think he would
Not
fare very
sexy
well.
enough.
Bryan Cranston.
All right, yeah.
Like to see Bryan Cranston as Bryan Cranston on The Walking Dead. I think that'd be cool as hell.
Hey, man, if you're going with a wrestler, I'd like to see Stone Cold out there. I know that.
Him and Daryl would be, I mean, their personalities are very different, but they both wear vests. They both are, like country boy redneck. So, yeah, I can see that.
I wonder if Norman Reedus or Daryl's ever punched his wife. I guess he's never been married.
Stone Cold punched his wife?
I know he had some kind of like domestic assault charge on him back in the day. But I don't know how it turned out. It could have been total horse shit. He could have been acquitted of all charges. But I want to say I read an article that said he wasn't actually allowed to drink at the moment because of like probation and stuff because of domestic assault.
Wow, I never knew that.
But again, I could be totally misremembering.
You want to know something crazy? Swerving off course just for a second, then I promise we're back to The Walking Dead. Just while we're talking about movies and stuff and actors and wrestlers, all that. I never realized, I don't know how or why, but for some reason this weekend, The Devil's Rejects was on.
Oh, I love that movie.
And I just watched it. I didn't realize DDP was in that movie.
Yeah, dude.
Like he was with Danny Trejo.
Yeah,
it was because like I'm looking at him and I'm like, God, that guy looks familiar. Who is that? And then it's just like one angle of him. Like, that's freaking Diamond Dallas Page. Get out of here. He took a break from doing DDP yoga to come out and take out some bad guys.
Back then, I don't even know if that was a thing at the time.
No, I don't think it was. Well, I don't know. I don't know how long he's been doing it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I hear really good things about it, though.
I do. I hear it changes lives for real.
Well,
he did a Joe Rogan podcast a while back.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about DDP yoga.
He's helped a lot of like wounded warriors and stuff like that.
I enjoy yoga, awesome man.
Guy.
Yoga's very, if you do it, if you just like, I mean, one of the best things I do is just do like a beginner's guide to yoga on YouTube and just follow along, but it is very. Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
I still haven't seen 3 from Hell, man.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I like to just assume that, spoiler alert, sorry, but I mean, how long has this movie been out? I like to assume they all just died in that final shootout.
I know, according
to the way it should have happened.
Rob Zombie, he followed it up and they made it out, or I don't know.
I hadn't seen that one.
Anyway.
But yeah, good questions, man. But yeah, I'm going to say I would like to see Bryan Cranston, Sarah Paulson, and The Rock. And honestly, man, if I was to really sit down and put some effort into this, I'm sure I could. Like Denzel Washington. I would love to see Denzel Washington in The Walking Dead as Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, even aside from all of his characters, he seems like a pretty, awesome dude behind the scenes anyways. Very smart, very quick-witted. So, you know what? Let me take out... I still want to see The Rock. Let me take out Bryan Cranston and sub in Denzel for him.
All right.
I would love to see Dave Chappelle in the Apocalypse.
That would be great. That would be great.
And he's gotten kind of jacked, like if you see his new stand-ups, he used to be real skinny. Mm-hmm. I mean, now he's a stocky fella. So I'm going to say Denzel. And the main reason I had said Bryan Cranston was because, like, watching in interviews, he just seems like a very interesting guy. And that's kind of what I was thinking about was, who seems very, but like Denzel seems the exact same damn way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a tough one, man, but good question.
Good stuff from Kyle. Now we're going to James Gallegos.
Hey,
He's
James.
got a few for us. What if the Saviors ran into the Whisperers before they ran into Alexandria? Very interesting.
It is. See, that's the thing about the Whisperer saga, man. The reason why they were such a challenge is because firearms were so scarce at that point. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like had they have ran and like dealt with the group when they just had like prison level firearms, I feel like the Whisperers would have been nothing. They would have just gotten a high capacity machine gun and just when they found hordes, just mowed them down.
Yeah, man.
You know,
I remember we explored this a while back, and
I'm pretty sure the Saviors would just like load up a 50 cal in the back of a truck and just wipe them all out. I don't feel like. I don't really feel like they would have had much of a chance on fighting the Whisperers much of a chance on fighting the Saviors just because the Saviors had plenty of firepower, which was interesting because in the comics, I think they made a note that they didn't have that many guns. The Saviors didn't. And that's why when you see the shot of right before Glenn dies, if you look around in the panel, a lot of them have like bats and like other weapons that aren't firearms, whereas in the show, they kind of just threw that away and everybody pretty much had a gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the show Saviors fully armed, locked and loaded. I mean, I don't know if they could have necessarily went out and found all of them because the Whisperers kind of blend in, but I don't feel like they would have been able to get near as close as they were all these years in the future where firearms have pretty much become scarce. I mean, Father Gabriel pulled out his shotgun and 2 shells like it was the Holy Grail. You know what I mean? So I think and now if the Saviors somehow made it, like beat Rick or whatever, but somehow were in the current timeline and they, their weapons had become scarce, then it might be a totally different thing. The Whisperers might be able to get up close and take them out if it's all hand-to-hand weapons and stuff. But, I mean, while we're talking prime Saviors locked and loaded, I don't think the Whisperers stood much of a chance.
Have they addressed why Eugene isn't still, like, making bullets? Has that come up at all?
I assume they just ran out of material.
Really?
I mean, because you got to think that was a thing, man. There's so much that goes into bullet making, and I mean, of course, in the show, they're just like, oh, he's making bullets. But, I mean, you've got to either find the actual bullets or you've got to cast them yourself, and then you got to have a supply of raw materials to make them. Then you got to think the shell casings. You either have to find spent shell casings or you have to, again, make them, which is not easy. And then you've got gunpowder. I mean, what if they ran out of gunpowder? I mean, so it's a lot more that goes into it than just I found a factory. I mean, it would work. If it was a bullet factory, I imagine you'd be good for a while. All your material is there. But, I mean, that's the only problem with guns in the apocalypse, man, is they are a finite resource. Eventually, they'll run out if nobody is out there mass creating them in the way that they are now. I mean, now, if you had some factory that had a supply of metal and gunpowder and were able to mine this and, keep it going, perhaps. But, I mean, just finding a factory and understanding how bullets are made, it's because people reload all the time.
Yeah. God, can you imagine if that was your stronghold, like a bullet factory, like you were the foreman of the factory, and you're just like, all right, everybody, we're locking her up. We're going to hold tight right here.
Are you worried? Billy, we're in a bullet factory. I'm not worried about a damn thing. But no, I don't think the Whisperers would have stood much of a chance against the Saviors when the Saviors were armed the way they were.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, I mean, Rick and them ultimately, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Rick and company lost to Negan if it wasn't for Eugene's betrayal. Because Negan out-strategized Rick. He had him dead to rights in crossfire and had Eugene not... I don't know if Eugene ever was on Negan's side or if he had a change of heart with the Daryl and Rosita thing. I don't know. I'm sure someone has a better answer for that, but I'm not sure if it was a change of heart or if he never really was fully against them. But if Eugene wouldn't have turned on Negan, they were done. Negan won the war. One fell swoop took everybody out. So, but even though Rick and his group definitely put a big dent in the Saviors just because they had guns themselves. I mean, hell, 1 or 2 episodes, the whole point is Rick and Daryl following after that truck trying to get that, machine gun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's been a whole different story. I don't believe they would have been as big of a threat for Rick and company if they all had. I mean, of course, now one could, before we go from that, just because it's, then again, Alpha never used her nuclear option. Beta does. But what if the Saviors still had their guns? However, because I'm sure everybody, the first thought is like I was saying, like, oh, the Saviors would just gun them down. But what if Alpha realizes that? So she goes into her little cave or her field, wherever they are at the time, and just leads those thousands of walkers right to the sanctuary. I mean, they might rip that place apart.
Yeah, that could happen too.
I think in the same style of fight that they had with Daryl and his group, I feel like the Saviors would have won. Mm-hmm. However, if we're just getting down to it, Alpha might not have toyed around with them that long and might have realized that, they've got guns and just brought the Horde on them, in which case if she did, I don't know, that Horde was huge. That might have ripped that factory apart.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, Negan still has his nuclear option, the old magic stick. He got in under Alpha skin once. He could probably do it in that timeline as well.
That's true.
Seduce and destroy.
I think I do think there are scenarios. It all just depends on how it plays out. But I do think the Saviors would most of the time win. But if this was like that show, The Ultimate Warrior, I feel like the calculations would have Negan winning most of the fights with Alpha. I mean, the nuclear option that's the only option she really has to take the Saviors, is just to lead that entire Horde to the sanctuary and just, hope that there are enough of them to soak up all the bullets but still keep going.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, Rick and his boys almost did that just by shooting the place up and drawing all those walkers.
Oh yeah,
they had the number of walkers that Alpha has. Yeah.
Well, I say that Beta's the one that does the Horde, but I mean, I know Alpha took a lot of zombies, but she didn't bring the entire Horde to Hilltop, right? That was just a bunch of zombies, but she didn't bring. She didn't play all her cards at once. Whereas now I think Beta, right, is pretty much just bringing all of them.
That's what I thought, yeah.
But great question, man. I love what ifs.
Yeah, well, he's got another good one for us. James Gelagos. What if the Claimers never found Rick, Michonne, Carl? They make it to Terminus without Daryl. Would Daryl stay with them long term? Daryl didn't reunite with the group. Would the termites get Carol and eat her leg instead of Bob? Bob lives. Would Carol have not been found at Grady Memorial? No Daryl, no Noah. Would Beth still be alive? No Noah. They would not have gone east, stayed in Atlanta. No Saviors, no Whisperers.
All right, I'm confused.
Okay, so,
I mean, that's a very good question, James. I know, that's a very detailed question.
Lays out the whole scenario for us.
So what was the very first question that kind of started this domino effect?
I'm trying.
What if the Claimers never found Rick, basically, right? Like if Daryl and Rick had never been reunited when they were, perhaps they just couldn't find him, and Daryl and the group end up at Terminus, I think is what he was asking. Yeah. I think they would have died because it just so many pieces had to fall into place for them to survive. Rick had the wooden stake up in his pant leg, and Carol blowing that big tank when she did is what ultimately saved Glenn. Yeah. Daryl's cunning, but I just don't know with the Claimers as backup. They weren't really the smart. The leader Joe was pretty smart, but the rest of them I don't think really would have been. I don't feel like they would have gotten out of it.
No.
God, everything would have went south then.
Yeah, that probably would have been
I think Beth would still be alive and just like living out her servitude. That was that's one of the stupidest plot points in that whole freaking show, man. That hospital thing was so pointless because I liked Noah. I don't know how you felt about Noah, but I liked the character, and I also loved Everybody Hates Chris, so that probably I was partial to the actor anyways, but I liked Noah as a character. I thought he was interesting. I thought the actor did a great job. I was excited to see where his character was going to go. Mm-hmm. So the whole Beth Hospital thing was some of the most bored and like not give a crap I've been during The Walking Dead's airtime. Like whenever we flashed to Beth, that we had the episode or two where it was just at the hospital, I was like, oh my God, I don't feel like dealing with this crap right now. But then we got Noah out the deal. And so I thought, okay, cool. So Noah's going to probably go on to be this great character that we'll look back on and be like, yeah, the hospital stuff with Beth was kind of blah, but we traded in an okay character for a great character. And then Noah dies. So all of that was for nothing. You know what I mean? So I feel like Beth would probably still be alive and in servitude, but I mean, she was so stupid. She should not have stabbed Dawn. All she had to do was tell Rick and the group, like, look how badass Rick and them were at getting her back. Like, hey, I want to strategize and I want to get Noah out of there. Yeah. And they probably could have made that happen. But no, let's just stab Dawn in the shoulder of all places, not in the neck. Let's just stab her in a spot that's going to piss her off. Which I think she accidentally shot Beth. It was like, a reaction. Right. But still, I hate that part.
Yeah, not a high note for sure.
And poor Maggie. I just felt so awful for Maggie because it's like, what was that, the season 5 mid-season finale? And it's like, I felt so bad for her because it's like, man, last year this time you watched your father get his head lopped off by the governor, and now Daryl brings your dead sister's body outside. Poor Maggie. If they're love her or hate her, and it seems like a lot less people like her than they used to, which I still like Maggie. I didn't like her odds with Rick, but I like Maggie. But her character's been through some ish, man.
She has, man. She has. If anyone had grounds to turn into a supervillain, it would be her.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I do think Beth would live. I think she would still be at the hospital because I don't think Beth was really going to get out of there on her own.
No. But yeah, that's an interesting sequence of events, James. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, it totally would have changed the whole trajectory of the whole show.
We ought to get people to like submit singular Walking Dead what ifs, and then what we do instead of having a brief conversation about it before moving on to the next one, like start having like full breakdowns, or we actually take like a couple of weeks to like map out like fan fiction kind of how it would have played out without, without or with or without this thing happening that the listener comments.
Yeah, man, that'd be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. 5 days ago, man, Simba Trey left quite three crazy scenarios. Okay, number 1. What if you both yourself were in Dwight's position? How would you react or keep sane knowing your wife or girlfriend is sleeping with Negan to keep you alive? Could you even imagine being in his shoes? What would you do sleeping at night knowing the man who burned your face is smashing the love of your life on the daily? As a man, and I believe you are both in relationships, just imagine that what that would do to you. That thought truly makes me empathize with Dwight way more than I think the Walking Dead fandom did or does. He deserves more credit for remaining sane and being patient enough to hold his anger and betray Negan after gaining his trust.
It's so funny because I think we have two totally different options. I think JP would be the one to recommend, and I mean, like any girlfriend he had at the time, you should start banging Negan so that we can.
I mean, number 1, there'd be great benefits to it. Number 1, I've got cuckish tendencies anyway, so I would.
You'd be like Negan. I'm gonna volunteer my wife as tribute as long as I can come in the room every now and again and just watch.
Yeah, I'd go up to the gate and I'd be like, man, I got this fine piece of meat for you. I ain't talking about no Walker neither. And yeah, man, I think me and Negan would have been good friends. I really do. I think we're both morally ambiguous. We're both kind of a little deviant in nature, man. I think we would have got along really well.
Whereas I know it would have ate me up. I've not been in obviously that scenario, but I mean, we live in small towns, and it's like I've been in the situation where someone that a girlfriend that you're just crazy about, you break up, and then she's with some other guy that you're seeing them around town all the time, or like you pass them going down the road, and like they used to, where they would go and hang out was like right down the road from my freaking house. So sometimes I would be on the front porch or cutting grass and watch him go by with her in the passenger seat, and it just drives you. I couldn't have stayed there. I can tell you that, like, if I was Dwight, I'm not saying I would have done anything stupid like attack Negan or got myself killed, but I think I would have just had to have disappeared. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't have stayed there. I would have basically given her the option, like, look, I'm going. Which they did try. They did try to run, and Negan caught them. But I would have to like make myself appear to have died or something, and then do a mission for Negan and play it cool and everything. But my exit strategy is like I go out doing a mission for Negan, whatever, and make it look like I get killed, and then just disappear. I couldn't do that. Now, if it was just a girl, if it was somebody I didn't care about, it'd be different. But if it's somebody that I truly love, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, but that's a interesting scenario, Simba.
You are right, Simba. I don't think Dwight gets the credit he deserves. I was a Dwight hater in the beginning. I was not a fan of him whatsoever. And Gareth Dillahunt had actually, the guy that plays John Dory actually auditioned for the role of Dwight, and I think he was also interested in the role for Negan. Now, I think he would have been a wonderful Dwight. Like reading the comics and stuff, I think Gareth Dillahunt would have been an incredible Dwight. But I just wasn't a fan of him. And then as the series ran on, I did start actually liking Dwight. And you're right, like people don't really emphasize, have much empathy for Dwight. But I mean, you're right. You make some very good points.
Oh, dude, and they keep coming, man. So get this, it's almost a part 2. What if Negan did the same dilemma with Rick, burned his face, and was about to Lucille him and Carl? Would Michonne become one of Negan's wives and joined his personal barn of pleasures, or let Rick and Carl die? Really couldn't see Michonne submitting and assuming position at night for Negan, not even to save Rick or Carl's life. It's a hard choice, but she's just too strong of a character, in my opinion. But I don't know.
No, I absolutely think she would have, but it wouldn't have been I think she would have in that moment. You know what I'm saying? If I really feel quite the opposite. I feel like if Rick's face was burned and Negan was about to kill him and Carl and was like, now Michonne, if you want to be one of my wives, maybe I can spare. I think Michonne would have absolutely. I mean, especially with Carl there. Mm-hmm. I mean, and her doing that would for me. I wouldn't see that as submitting. I would see that as another accolade to how strong she is. Like she's doing something she clearly doesn't want to do, something we know our dear Michonne would never do on her own. No. But she's doing that to save someone she loves. Now, I think by the time the next day rolled around, she would governor his ass and like shove a piece of something in his eye. I mean, I don't see Michonne dolling up and basically just being complicit, but I believe in that moment she would say, okay, yes, I'll, because that's the thing, man. I'm telling you, one of my favorite relationships on the show, and I've said it many, many times, but for the new listeners that maybe have joined us, Michonne and Carl's relationship was one of my favorite relationships on the show because I really didn't care much for Carl. That I hate to admit it, really didn't care much for Carl. Like the Rick and Carl relationship, it was just times where he was just being a brat, and I get it. Yeah. He's a kid. He's an apocalypse. I mean, I get every reason why I shouldn't have been, but I still was. I was annoyed by him. But then Michonne kind of saved Carl for me because they just decided the fact that Chandler Riggs and Denai Guerrera had great chemistry together. The characters, just really, that's one of the best relationships on the show, I think. It's just how that turned from like Carl not trusting her and being cold when they went on that run into Rick and Morgan's old town and they started to grow, and then them being on the road. That's one of my favorite relationships on the show. So I think Michonne would have done whatever she had to not see Carl die.
Yeah.
I feel like she would have said yes. Now, I don't think she would have ever, because Negan definitely would have made her like bang him right there, but he sent her up to his little room to get all dolled up and whatever. And I think once she got up there, she'd have just told the girls in there, all right, listen, we ain't doing this shit. So here's the deal. Here's how we're going to take Negan out. If anything, Michonne might have been able to take Negan out quicker.
Maybe. That would have been a interesting turn of events.
But I don't think she would have done it in a selfish way. I don't think for a second. I mean, that's where I look at Michonne's strength. I don't think she's weak enough to just give in and start banging somebody just so she could survive. Mm-hmm. But now I think in that moment she would, be like, fine, I'll be your wife if that meant that Carl and Rick could live.
Knowing Negan, man, I'm not too sure he wouldn't have put Michonne in that position and made Rick the offer to be part of the harem.
He did love him some Rick.
Yeah, he did. So I don't know.
I don't think he started loving Rick though until Rick started rebelling.
Yeah.
The comic they did it some in the show, but the comic, man, what's so great is like after the all out war thing, man. I mean, Negan is just like man crushed on Rick. Yeah. It's almost like kinky in a way, like, yeah, you dominated me, boy. Negan really just had like the bro crush on Rick. I mean, I guess it's the first person that really stood up to him and did anything, so he was impressed.
Yeah, it was good stuff. We've got one last one from Simba, and buckle up because this is a wild one.
Simba's asked really good questions. I really appreciate them.
So, what if Bruce Wayne, without batsuit or tech, existed in The Walking Dead? How do you think this no killing rule will affect our group? Also, isn't Batman basically the same Morgan we all hate, who goes around with the philosophy, all life is precious, even life that is obviously either too far gone like Governor, or life that straight up butchers innocents like the Wolves or Terminus, who eats people alive like they did Bob? Is Batman basically wrong in terms of his philosophy all across his lore, from movies to comics to games? Even MCU heroes kill, like Thor killed Thanos via head chop when Thanos and Iron Man, Captain America, and Black Widow will all use guns and head dead, and shot dead or blasted to pieces bad guys in previous MCU movies. Even Wolverine kills in Logan and in X-Men movies, which Wolverine's always killed people.
Yeah,
what do you call an anti-hero?
Oh, absolutely.
And as far as
that's
Batman,
a loaded question, man, because it just there's so many sides to it. Like, are we talking about are the movie Batmans an options? Because I'm pretty sure Michael Keaton's Batman would have had no problem killing people.
He killed people in Batman in the original, the original Batman in like the 1930s or 40s or whatever. He killed people.
Well, and it's like Ben Affleck's Batman didn't necessarily kill people, but he definitely probably made some into paraplegics. And on top of that, he was branding. Remember in Superman versus Superman? Yeah, so that they would basically get killed in prison or beat up, you know. And it is hard. You kind of have to pick a Batman and go, because there are some iterations of Batman that I think would have started killing or at least leaving people laying in a field paralyzed, you know, been like. But Batman isn't necessarily like Morgan, though. Like, Batman doesn't run around. Batman's whole joke is that he's the grumpy member of the Justice League. It's not like he's running around in this hippy-dippy haze of, like, all life is precious, Superman. Don't you kill that guy. He's a grumpy ass. Yeah. So, you know, while he doesn't kill because he doesn't want to become the monster like that took his parents. Right. Like, he doesn't want to be on that level. And one could argue that he would have saved hundreds, if not thousands of lives by just killing the Joker. Like, you're keeping this one guy alive you refuse to kill, which there is a story where it's kind of, is it the Killing Joke? Which one is it where at the very end, it is the Killing Joke, ain't it? Where the Joker tells a joke.
And he laughs.
And Batman laughs, but then, like, you see Batman kind of put his hands on him, and the laughter stops. And some people, you know, speculate that he did kill him.
Yeah, and that's why the big argument is the Killing Joke canon or not, because it does beg the question: does he kill Joker at the end?
And it's like, you know, Batman would have definitely. So I don't know. I mean, you're right. In most iterations, Batman doesn't prefer to kill. He doesn't want to kill. But I mean, I feel like in the Walking Dead world with someone like the Governor, I mean, in Batman's world, there's a system. There's, there's Arkham. There's law and justice and all of that. I mean, in the Walking Dead world, there's none of that.
Yeah, I almost feel like the better character to put in that scenario would be like Peter Parker, because he does have an even stricter, like, across the board.
Peter Parker's more like the Morgan, all life is precious, you know, type deal. Just this childhood innocence of not one. I mean, granted, Spider-Man's the same way. I'll break your back and you'll be in medical debt for the rest of your life and lucky to have a normal life after I'm done with you, but I won't kill you. They might feed you through a straw for the rest of your life.
Which actually is pretty cool, because in the new Marvel Zombies run, Peter Parker is kind of in the, like, Rick Grimes shoes.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
I hadn't read. Did I get that out of my box? JP also works at a comic shop. I know you put it in my box.
Yeah, it's in your box now. So, like I said, I'm really digging this new story. Yeah.
But yeah, which is cool because full circle, Robert Kirkman wrote like the first Marvel Zombies, right?
He did, yeah.
Which also kind of centered around Peter Parker. I remember it was like where Peter Parker was a zombie and he had ate Mary Jane and Aunt May and all that, but then he starts having, like, you know, realizations of what he's become.
Yeah. I by far, this is my favorite Marvel Zombies to
I'm excited to read it. Is it better than Deceased yet? Because Deceased was actually one of the better DC events, which that was in an alternate universe, but Deceased was really good. I really enjoyed that. I mean, seeing like a zombie Flash running around and Superman having to try and stop him. And
yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's better, but it's definitely on par with it.
Well, and it's in the beginning stages too. I mean, you gotta consider you had 6 issues of Deceased spinoff series and now a follow-up series, whereas you've only had 2 issues of Marvel Zombies. But no, I mean, I think that Bruce Wayne would have started killing. I think that he would avoid it, but I think if like persistent threats like the Governor and Negan, I feel like he would do what he had to. Yeah. Because Batman is definitely a person who's shaped by his environment, and like what happened to him as a child is definitely what shaped him into, you know, I'm not going to kill and be the monster that killed my parents, but I think it would be really dope if he had this like come to Jesus moment in the Walking Dead universe. Like, man, like I'm going to have to become the monster, which who knows what killing someone would do to Batman. Like if we're talking one of these innocent Batman, because like I said, there's so many different iterations of him, but if you're talking one that has never killed and is very, very against killing, I mean, it might turn him into a monster.
It could.
You know, just go crazy with guilt and you know, just thinking, which I do. Batman would be great in this universe, though, because remember in Doomsday Clock when Ozymandias and the Mind, whoever was with him, they enter the DC universe, and he's like, I'm seeing the two most intelligent people in this world are Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor. Mm-hmm. You know, so Bruce Wayne is like, you could argue, depending on, I guess Doomsday Clock, that's canon, right?
Yeah.
It's confusing. It's like it is, but it's
DC continuity right now
is terrible.
It's crazy.
But it's all over. I won't say it's good storytelling, but it's all over the place. But at least in that universe, which we think is canon, I mean, Bruce Wayne is one of the two smartest people on the planet. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I feel like he would fare very well. He'd be like Eugene, only he would get laid a lot.
Yeah, he wouldn't have to bite anybody's dick. It'd be a good thing.
I am justice. I am the knight. I'm going to bite your dick.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, Lord. But, man, that was
that dick.
That was a bunch of good ones.
Bite dick.
Man. So much love we're getting from so many of our regulars, man, and some new faces, too. Nick Cage, Jen Crocker, Jamie. They're all giving us love. Shout out to all you guys. The next What If, coming from Ace Rabbit 5 days ago. What if Carol never caused the explosion at Terminus? Do you think Glenn would have died?
Yes.
Rick had a shank or some sort ready to cut himself loose. So how do you think the whole Terminus situation would have went down if not for Carol?
I think Glenn definitely would have died because I'm sorry, but Rick wasn't in the process of sawing, I don't think. And if he wasn't, you know, I mean, like the bat was back. I mean, Glenn was like a second away from dying. And I just don't see Rick springing into action that quick. So yes, if not for that explosion, Glenn would have definitely died. And how was the lineup? Was it Rick, Daryl, Bob, and Glenn?
I can't remember.
I'm going to look up a picture real quick because I feel like Glenn and maybe Bob would have definitely died. But by that point, I feel like Rick still would have gotten. But I mean, then again, half of their escape was because the whole compound was in disarray. Yeah, I mean, imagine trying to escape while everything is still hunky-dory. They've got all their protocols in place. They still, I don't think they would have survived. You know, I don't feel like they would have survived if not for Carol.
Probably not. But yeah, that would have been an interesting way to end The Walking Dead. They all just get eaten by people.
Oh yeah,
so, yeah. Ace Rabbit. That's definitely a good one and one a lot of people wonder about. Oh man, you've Raj kinda. I hope I got you right. Just short and sweet. Shane versus Beta. Who would win?
Beta.
Yeah, Beta's got the size. Beta's crazy as hell.
Well, and Beta's also been battle hardened by this world. Now, a Shane because I'm just imagining you pluck Shane out of season 2 and drop him and Beta together, and what happens? And I feel like Beta would destroy that Shane because that Shane was tough. He was a beast, but at the end of the day, Beta's humongous, and Beta's gotten years of just battle hardened. I mean, he's an effective, efficient killer, whereas Shane was being shaped into one.
Yeah.
But he wasn't quite there yet. Now, if you want to talk about if somehow in some alternate universe Shane had survived all this time, then I don't know. That'd be pretty square. I mean, if Daryl could take it to him, I feel like, because I remember back in, season 2, where Shane and Daryl almost kind of get into it, where Shane is basically like going off on him, and he's like, "That's what you found, Daryl? A doll. If she would have seen you coming at her with your butt, you're wearing ears and your redneck, blah, blah, blah." I can't remember the exact line, but he's like, she would have run in the other direction. And Daryl's like, "Man, you don't know what the hell you're talking about." And they almost get to fight and everybody breaks. And I remember thinking in that moment, like, Shane was going to beat the hell out of Daryl. Right. Like, I didn't see Daryl winning a fight with Shane. So I say there's two answers to that. If you were to pull Shane out of season 2, that Shane would have lost to Beta. Now, a Shane that had survived for this long, I think Shane might have a chance.
Could be.
I mean, a Shane that had been molded after all these years of surviving and doing all the shit. I feel like Shane would have definitely been at home as a savior.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know that, and that's what I hate so much. That's what I love and I hate, is that we know that there was good in Shane. It just was, his emotions just took too, he got too wound up. But I feel like Shane would have been like one of Negan's top enforcers.
Yeah.
He could have been scary, man. Like, that would have been awesome. But no, I think that going off the basis that Daryl beat Beta, and I don't think season 2 Daryl could have beat Beta. I think that all these years of surviving and fighting is what got Daryl to the point where he could take Beta. I feel like the same could be said for Shane. Because Shane already, to me, Daryl seemed like, you know, a survivalist, but as far as just raw fighting prowess and being a person you don't want to mess with, Shane already had that over Daryl. Like, if I was in that world and I had to fight Daryl or Shane in season 2, I probably would have opted for Daryl. Not saying I would have won. I'm sure both of them would have probably kicked my ass. But I'm saying, just judging off of body language, I mean, Shane knows he can whoop your ass.
Oh, yeah, man. He's got the police training.
Right.
So, he's got some hand-to-hand skills.
I feel like season 2 Shane, absolutely not. A Shane that somehow survived up to like season 10, yeah, that Shane probably would take him.
Yeah, could be. A good one, kind of. I don't mean kind of good. I mean, that's the last
That's a good one, kind of.
But anyway, dear friend of the show, Owen Mizan, what if, in the Better Angels episode, Carl witnessed Shane kill Rick on the field during their final standoff, and in retaliation killed Shane and ran straight back to the farm? How would this affect his character going forward? He'd, of course, eventually come to the realization that you turn no matter what, meaning a Walker, Rick, and Shane out there. Lastly, where would the group go from there, ultimately having Daryl or Herschel in charge? Daryl and or Herschel.
I don't think Daryl was quite ready for leadership, though I think people would have definitely followed him at that point. I mean, Daryl became more of a leader as he kind of became more acclimated to being in this group and caring for these people. But he had several moments in season 2 where he was kind of pulling back. Like, you could tell he was really getting attached to this group, but he also was trying to keep that side of himself that could be a loner and be without a group of people intact in case, I guess, he needed to revert back to it. But, yeah, I mean, if Rick and Shane were both gone, I guess Daryl would be the next in line. I mean, T-Dog was awesome, but he really wasn't a leader. He was more of like, you know, a follower. Glenn definitely started displaying leadership tendencies later in his run on the show, but at that point he was still more, I mean, he started getting him some booty, so he started getting a little bit more confidence, I feel. But yeah, it would have definitely been up like Herschel or Daryl, excuse me. But that would have been dark, man. Like, Carl witnesses his dad get gunned down, then guns Shane down, and then run. Man, that would have led to some dark. I mean, I don't know, man. That would have been interesting. I don't feel like the show would have been the same though without our Rick. No,
it definitely would have took a left turn. That's for sure.
But I mean, I think the group would have believed him.
Yeah,
I don't think Carl, they would be like, holy crap, Carl just ran out there and gunned down his dad and Shane for the hell of it, and then made up some elaborate story. And I think Lori would know deep down that he was telling the truth because she knew Shane was crazy. Yeah. It's half why everybody hated Lori, because she knew he was crazy. She tells Rick he's crazy. Something's got to be done. Then he tries to kill Rick, so Rick kills him, and then Lori's like, get off me. Why would you do this?
God, I hate it, Lori.
I didn't hate Lori until that point. Like, everybody fussed about her, all the way pretty much from the minute they found out she was sleeping with Shane in the first or second episode. But that never bothered me because I was like, dude, I get it. You think your husband's dead. This is a familiar face. It's someone you feel safe with. I mean, it's muffed up, yeah, but for all you know, like, the world's over. There are no other people. And I mean, who better to get with than someone you're familiar with and you trust versus starting all over with a complete stranger in an apocalypse. And then Shane had kept him safe, kept him alive. I mean, he clearly was a provider and a strong, significant other, but that didn't bother me. I just got mad when she basically told Rick in the tent right before Rick IF'd the camera for like a good 5 seconds. He gives that look he gives as the episode goes off, and it's like she tells him like he's dangerous, and something's got to be done. And then when Rick says he kills him, I could understand her being a little upset if she thought that Rick just took him out in the field and put him down. But then he tells him like the whole Randall thing was a lie. Like, Shane took me out there. She knows, like, that's the kind of crap Shane would pull. I mean, he tried to rape her the season before. I mean, granted he was drunk, but like but then she's just like does that like pushes him off, and that's when I was like, okay, Laura, you know what? I don't like you right now.
Yeah. Thank goodness she died in childbirth.
I don't know that they
very often. Thank goodness.
I hope you don't say it ever unless you're referring to a fictional character. Yeah. But I don't think the group would have survived that long. I mean, I think Daryl would maybe survive, but I feel like he would outlive the rest of them. I feel like without Rick in charge, they would have died.
Yeah, Daryl would have probably just took off with Merle once they reunited, if the group even made it that far.
Yeah.
But good one, Owen. You know we love you. Owen's way out there across the pond.
Now, had Michonne found them, she would be able to lead them out. But Andrea wasn't leader material. Neither was Lori. It really weren't. It wasn't. Like I said, Daryl, like Owen said, Daryl or Herschel would have been the top two picks for who's going to lead the group next. But I don't think either of them had what Rick had. No. Great question, though, Owen. We love you.
Yeah, got Eternal Wreck coming up next, another dear old friend of the show.
Long time.
4 days ago, what if Rick would have walked in on Lori and drunk Shane at the CDC? Oh, no, it would have been ugly.
Go to bed, Carl. I got to handle Shane.
Yeah.
I think Rick was drunk as hell.
Yeah.
See, Shane was drunk, but aggressive. We saw Rick stumbling. Yeah. That night. So I think Rick would have attempted and lost fighting Shane.
Or he would have been super turned on and it would have been a shower sandwich.
Oh, God. This is all I could think about in the hospital. Yeah. My two favorite people at the same time. Go to bed, Carl.
Now, Laura, don't be so apprehensive now. I think we can maybe make something out of this.
I feel like if he'd have walked in and saw that, because he tells Shane it didn't take him long to figure out that they had been hooking up. So I feel like at this point he knew that they had been hooking up, because when he says it didn't take him long, I'm imagining his first day or two with the group. Excuse me. I'm imagining his first couple of days with the group at camp, he probably figured out that something was going on, and he kept it to himself. So I feel like drunk Rick would have been like, I knew it. It just depends too on how he sees it. Does he hold on? I ran out of my allergy medication. I only get allergies for 2 weeks out the year, and it's usually the first couple weeks in September. And I took my last allergy pill Saturday morning, so I got to go when I leave here and get some more. But it also depends on how he sees it. Does he walk in and just see them up on the thing and just think they're scrumping, to which he's going to be like, I knew this was happening.
Yeah.
And then, if that's the case, Lori might have been like, no, Rick, he was trying to rape me. And, Rick might not have believed her. But then again, if he came in and saw it from the light of her trying to push Shane off and Shane trying to rape her again, I think that he would have tried to have fought Shane. But I think Shane would have beat his ass because Rick was extremely drunk.
Yeah.
Shane was drunk and aggressive, but Rick was drunk and stumbling.
That would have been crazy.
So, yeah. But then, what the repercussions of that been? Rick would have definitely banished him.
Yeah, at the very least.
And Lori would have definitely had his back at that moment because she was almost raped by Shane. Yeah. So she probably would have had zero issues with get out of here.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good one, Eternal Wreck. He's got a couple more here. What if Morgan would have been involved in the Whisperer arc?
Side note, what if Rick would have been like, Lori, Shane, not in the CDC. I heard of this place called the Barn of Pleasures with the King Ezekiel. If we're going to do this kind of group sex, we need to go there.
Oh, let's head north so we can get down south on each other.
And Daryl would be like, we're going where? Carl, you stay here with Jenner. Don't blow him up. We're going to go have sex with everybody. We'll be back in a couple of days.
Yeah, that'd have been a way better reason to head north. That's for sure.
I feel like we've just recently tackled and I might be wrong.
I feel like we basically said that he would have seen red.
I think that when Morgan saw the heads on the pikes, that'd have been it. We'd have gotten Morgan, especially being Henry was one of those, and he, lost his mind pretty much over Benjamin, and then cared about Henry. I feel like Morgan would have snapped. And
he trains Henry with the stick, and then Henry ends up on a stick. Yeah. Crazy. And Eternal Wreck agrees with you on Morgan. It would have been interesting, Morgan looking for Rick and Jadis.
Oh, yeah, I think that would have been awesome.
Yeah, I think it would have been
And it would have been a great way to just organically get him to the Fear Crew, not, I can't be here. People I love die. Which, like, welcome to the Walking Dead world. Everybody, whatever. And it's just like, I gotta leave.
Yeah.
Like, that was just, it was stupid. Like I said, he should have seen, like, the helicopter, maybe took a horse or something and started following it and gotten as far as he could have, but then eventually his path leads him to, like, John Dory and stuff. But just the whole, like, emo Morgan thing gets kind of annoying. Even though I love Morgan. I mean, I think Lenny James is quite possibly one of the best actors on the set in the Walking Dead world. He's just phenomenal, but I feel so pretentious when I say phenomenal. He's so awful. But then again, I think what got me, so what's funny is when I started in radio, it's a little side story. When I started in radio, I used the word awesome way too much. Oh. Keep in mind, it's a long time ago. And I remember my dad texted me during a live broadcast and was like, so is it awesome or is it awesome? Because I just kept saying awesome. So I started trying to come up with other ways because I think I just used awesome my whole life, Our generation grew up with, like, awesome, totally. And it's like I started trying to, trying to come up with, like, I got to go dig into a thesaurus and then, like, all right, let's find other words for awesome. Right. Phenomenal, fantastic, wonderful.
Tremendous.
So, I promise I'm not as pretentious as that word makes me sound, I feel.
Well, it's a good word. It's a solid word. But thank you, Eternal Wreck.
It's an awesome word.
And I don't know if you knew this, but the Appalachian American is actually a sex bot. No what if there, just food for thought.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does. Doesn't that connect a lot of dots?
He's a very high-tech sex bot, though.
Yeah. We're talking Westworld type technology.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, I've been on his podcast, which you should check out, The Men's Room.
Yeah.
It's a great podcast.
Good stuff.
I've been on this AI's podcast, man. Wow, sex bots are really evolving.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Ashley O'Neil, 4 days ago, with the show ending with season 11 and Daryl and Carol getting their own spinoff. What if Daryl and Carol leave and go to New Mexico, like they said in season 1, or episode 1, season 10, and they run into Jesse Pinkman?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would definitely tie up the whole conspiracy theory about the meth making the zombies, even though Better Call Saul technically is bleeding into, like, the present day, so that kind of dismisses, like, the world ending when it did. And
it was just the same network, so they were dropping little.
Yeah,
this could be an alternate universe, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it could be a parallel universe or something. So, that would be awesome. I would love to see some Jesse Pinkman. I would love it.
Yeah, that would. I don't know, man. I hate that I just don't really care about it, Daryl and Carol. I remember we're going to watch it. We're going to podcast about it, but
I don't want to see Daryl. I'd like to see, like, Daryl and anyone else, quite frankly.
Daryl and Aaron.
Daryl and Aaron, maybe.
Daryl and, there's a lot of other characters. Daryl and King Ezekiel.
Yeah, I would say Daryl and Negan, but I think Negan deserves his own show. He doesn't need to be saddled with it.
No. I definitely, like I said, they've talked about greenlighting a Here's Negan, like, little mini show and that would still be really good, but I feel like you could almost do, like, in that upcoming Tales from the Walking Dead, you could almost just do, like, a good hour-long episode showing his ascension to...
Yeah, it would be cool almost, just kind of like with Rick, just, scattered Negan, like, made-for-TV movies here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what we get. Moving on, thank you, Ashley. Disney rocks. Yeah, that's what this is. Disney rocks. We can all agree on that. You guys had me cracking up with Shane's punishment. Could have been numerous speeches from Dale with his constipated face. And how do you feel about the announcement yesterday of The Walking Dead ending after season 11?
My heart's broken.
Yeah, and you should check out our podcast. We did a whole podcast addressing it.
Yeah, we've got a whole podcast we did last week talking about it. But long story short, we're both heartbroken. It's the end of an era. This show means so much to so many people, and it's like I am not selfish enough to think that they should, that they should have to keep it going. But at the end of the day, you just hate to see it go because.
But at the same time, it's good to know that it'll, hopefully, fingers crossed, go out on a high note.
Oh, yeah.
I think Angela King will make sure of that. And speaking of which, Disney Rocks goes on to say, I am sad but super excited because Angela King is doing season 11, and season 9 and 10 have been some of my favorite seasons so far.
They've been very good.
Oh, yeah. So it should be epic. We still have a total of 31 episodes of Walking Dead left. the finale, then 6 bonus episodes, then 24 episodes of season 11. Wonder if and who will get Rick's comic book ending, of which we've discussed at length also, and where we have our theories.
Yeah. We kind of thought Daryl and Carol, but I mean, that was on the roster. We didn't really think it would be them, but they were, a possibility. But now we know they're going to survive everything. So even though when we watch these episodes and Daryl or Carol's in a pinch and you're like, oh, God, I hate that. Like, I just wish they would say, we've got the show's ending, but never fear. 2 of the biggest characters on the show are going to get their own spinoff. We're not going to tell you who, obviously, but of course they just had to say Daryl and Carol because they don't trust their fans to keep coming back to them. Yeah. It's like, man,
they're so bad about that.
They're terrible about it. It's like just the worst thing about it. I love this franchise so much. It's one of my favorite things ever. And The Walking Dead is a show that's done so many great things for so many, brought people together. Started this podcast. I mean, it's so many good accolades I could give to this show, but one thing is stop telling us who dies and who don't.
True that.
And JP, when I met JP, man, JP's so anti spoiler that half the time he don't even want you to tell him if you like something or not. Like that doesn't want to have any kind of bias going into it. That I've heard it's great or I've heard it's crap. He wants to watch it. To which I would be that way, but I just know in the real world it's just impossible to get on Facebook without somebody going, "Yo, go see the Joker, it's awesome."
Yeah.
Or I hated, Transformers Extinction.
I never saw that.
And yeah.
Anyway, wrapping it up, man, with one of our very favorites. I'm talking about Allie Smith. She left this only 2 days ago.
Okay.
Can you believe that? Okay, we're starting off at the top, as we should. What if Daryl took Merle's death from his ambush on the governor? Would Merle ever be able to acclimate with the group, knowing that Daryl sacrificed himself for it? Would our group be able to survive without Daryl?
Daryl's definitely. I do feel like Merle would have gotten eventually into the group, because I feel like to whatever after everything Daryl meant to Rick and everyone else, to have, if he would have sacrificed himself and you kicked his brother out, it's almost like he died for nothing.
Yeah. I think he definitely would have butted heads with Rick on occasion. But
I mean, if he can be subservient to the governor, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think he would have challenged Rick for leadership, but especially after Rick.
We kind of needed that though, man. Needed that one person that was. I mean, we kind of had that with the Maggie stuff, but it just felt out of character for Maggie. But I always have this. All right, so let me tell you. The episode where Rick's meeting the governor for the first time. Like, they're sitting down in that room. You know what I'm talking about? They're in that barn, which would later to go on to become the Barn of Pleasures. Right, that barn right there is the Barn of Pleasures. Yeah. But he's sitting down talking to, and then Merle's back at the jail telling Glenn and all of them, like, we should go right now while the governor's there and just take him out. And he tells Michonne, he's like, my brother and I have some hunting calls that we use for hunting. I'll give him the signal. He'll get everybody out of the way. We'll be home by dinner or something. And I just, in my mind, I have this scenario where, Daryl's sitting there talking to Martinez and Rick's inside. And you hear, cuckoo! And Daryl's like, the hell is that? And then, the governor's in there and goes, you hear that? And it's like, cuckoo! It's just, so that don't work. And they're like, the hell is going on? So then you hear... And the governor's like, someone go kill that freaking cow. I just imagine, I would love if SNL would have taken that or Conan O'Brien and just made this scenario where Merle convinces them to go and they're all in the woods and Merle's like, damn it, let me try the brontosaurus. It's like, oh, I think I know what that is. And then Merle's like, yes, baby brother, you got it. I think that's a bear. We should all get inside together.
Oh,
just the opposite happens. Daryl is like, oh my God, guys, it sounds like an angry bear. Everyone get inside and huddle together. And Merle's like, damn it, that's the opposite of what I was trying to do. But that would be I really think what I'm going to do now is I really think I'm going to take that scene and I'm going to do a little video editing and I'm going to put the sound effect of caw.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have like scenes where like the governor and Rick aren't speaking and they're like looking around.
Dude, that'd be beautiful, man. You haven't done a little Walking Dead short in a while.
No, we have some of those on our channel. I mean, none of them are supposed to be like professional quality. It's
that was
just
before your MacBook.
It's just stuff that we giggled about. Like, I took that same scene where the governor, is talking to Rick and we find out the governor's name is Jeff.
Yeah.
But, dude, I just imagine how funny it would have been, like, if Merle would have tried that and it didn't go right. And eventually Merle's like, Daryl! And Daryl would be like, oh, my God, the bear knows my name. We're dealing with an intelligent bear. Everybody stay in the barn.
Oh, sheesh.
Keep Rick safe.
Oh, man. Allie, oh.
Someone keep Rick safe. Get on the radio. Y'all hunker down at the prison. We got hyper-intelligent bears out here.
God. Oh, Lord have mercy. So, yeah, that would have created an interesting set of circumstances.
Merle's like, Rick. Yeah. Oh, no, it knows Rick's name, too.
Oh, poor Merle.
Sorry. Many years I've had that in my... I'm sorry, too, if...
You were probably thinking that as you watched it the first time as it aired.
Well, it's like now every time I go back and rewatch it, that's all I can think of is like just have that scene, have Merle tell Michonne that going, I got a few hunting calls my brother and I use. I'll give him the signal. He'll get everybody out of there. We'll be home by dinner. Then it just cuts to like, Rick and the governor aren't saying anything and they're just sitting at the table and it just shows them outside, real quiet. You just hear, call! You're like, tough. I'm sorry. I know that's. I've just had that in my head for so many years and never shared it.
Oh Lord. On to the next one. What if Tyrese and Sasha were introduced to the show at the time of Tyrese's comic entrance, right before Herschel's farm? What would you guys think of the Tyrese-Carol relationship from the comics being adapted to the show? That to me would have been weird.
Because JP does not find Carol. I think Carol's attractive. Now, granted, I didn't find her as attractive in earlier seasons, but I mean, the whole look they were going for was the dirty living out. She wasn't supposed. None of them were really supposed to be attractive. And now that I think about it, really won't many. Maggie maybe, but she lived in a house with a shower. Yeah. But I think Melissa McBride's a very pretty lady. But
would you have seen her and Tyrese together? I mean, Tyrese.
It's weird.
He would have broke her in half, brother.
Not season 2 Carol, but I could see, the stronger, more mature Carol, sure. But I mean, you got to think Carol in the comics and the show could not be more different. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean,
you would almost had to recast Carol altogether.
Carol in the comic was pathetic. And I don't mean, she did, she definitely had some unfortunate luck, but she was just pathetic. Like she essentially, sorry, spoilers, but my God, how long ago did that come out? Spoilers for the comics in 3, 2, 1. In the comics, she just killed herself by letting a zombie bite out her throat because Tyrese would rather give Michonne she found out Tyrese and Michonne had been fooling around.
And Lori rejected her.
And Lori rejected living in a polyamorous relationship with her and Rick. She was like straight up asking Lori, could they like be married to each other and Rick? Yeah. And it was really weird. And that Carol just kind of sucked. But Sophia, so this Carol would have been nothing like it. But I mean, I would have been happy for Carol at that point.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen Tyrese and Sasha earlier. I don't know, man. Tyrese in the comics was just such a, like, I liked him. I mean, and again, that is no discredit to the actor. Chad Coleman, I think is his name. He did a great job as Tyrese. I mean, you got to understand that they only got what they've been written to do. But, like, I just liked this comic. I mean, comic Tyrese was a force of nature, man. Like, and he had so much depth to his character. And it's just like, Yeah. But, I mean, if they would have brought Tyrese in the show earlier, maybe he would have eventually evolved to be a badass. I don't know.
I would definitely put the mishandling of Tyrese right up there with, like, Jesus, man. They just did not use those characters effectively.
No.
Definitely not. But speaking of comic spoilers, man, we're definitely going to have to sound another alert because going into this next question is a big comic spoiler right towards the end of the comic series.
All right, so you've been warned in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, what if the Rick killing Dwight in the comics gets adapted to Yumiko killing Magna? Magna has seemed off recently, and I had the feeling she pulled a Shane and sacrificed Connie in the same way Shane did Otis. End of question. Do you think that she did Connie that way?
I really hope that Angela Kang is smarter than to do that, because the thing is, when Rick kills Dwight, it's heartbreaking. Like, I remember telling you when we read it that, because you get a whole page.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Of the bullet going through Dwight's head, and he just looks.
Tear rolling down
it's so sad, man. Like, I felt so bad, and that's the thing. Like, you felt for Dwight. You had been with him this whole. And I don't think you ever really, though, in the comic, other than the very beginning, once you learn that Dwight's siding with Rick in the group, you kind of, he never goes back evil. Like, he's just straight up, So I don't think there was as much hate for him or at least as long a hate for him in the comics as the show. But, when Rick did that, it sucked because you liked Dwight. But Dwight been around for a while now.
He sure has.
I don't care about Magna. And honestly, I just rather Yumiko go ahead and finish her off now. And it's not the actress. They've written her to be more like a moody teenager than a strong female lead. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I'm just not a big fan of Magna.
Yeah, that's too pivotal a scene to
waste on Magna. Now, I do feel like there may be some truth or something to that. She sacrificed Connie, or maybe I'm really hoping that Connie didn't die. I'm really hoping that maybe she sacrificed Connie, but Connie actually survived, and then Connie comes back to tell them what happened. Right. Whereas Otis obviously was gone and couldn't. Connie comes back and says, no, she left me and blah, 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 because then you got Daryl that would be coming after Magna. You'd have a lot of people ready to... I don't know, man. I mean, in the comics, I liked Magna, but in this show, man, and again, I nothing against the actress, but it's just, I just don't really care for the way she's written.
Yeah. I could see Aaron maybe getting Dwight's death. He's been kind of on a different sort of keel lately.
But I don't know if Aaron will ever become. I don't think he's going to get that unhinged. Because, see, Dwight in the comics, if you haven't read the comics and you're not minding spoilers, Dwight basically, when they found the hilltop, realized, they've got this, 50,000 person strong society, but they're living in slavery more or less. I mean, it's not slavery, but I mean, it's a class system. Yeah. They're living in a very screwed up, existence. Like, you got people being, that you'll never, it's like what they do is they set it up in tiers. It's like, what did you do before you came here? I waited tables. Okay, you're going to wait tables. Yeah. I was a lawyer. Okay, well, now you're a lawyer. And basically just put life back to the way it was. But they were, Pamela was kind of setting herself up just to be it was basically one of those where he was having PTSD to Negan's rule, and then knew that these people were being oppressed, and that's a better term than slavery. It was oppressive, but he knew they were being oppressed, and knew that they needed to take Pamela out and free these people to whatever, and it's it made perfect sense for him to freak out like that because he didn't want to see another Negan savior situation, and that's where he thought it was going to go, and unfortunately Rick had to kill him to keep the peace, and I mean, it just was a very tragic situation, and it was so if Magna does that, man, I just would be I feel but I don't feel like Aaron would get that unhinged.
I don't know, man.
Maybe they'll loop Dwight back and bring him back to The Walking Dead.
Yeah, now that would.
And then Daryl would have to kill him. But the thing is, Daryl has told him last time they saw each other, if I ever see you again, I'm going to kill you. Mm-hmm. So just imagine Dwight comes back. Daryl, of course, gets defensive, but ends up having to learn to accept him. And it's look, you're sitting here breaking bread with Negan pretty much, and you're saying that I don't, you're going to kill me if I come back? But maybe Daryl does start to not get close to Dwight, but start to forgive him and start to move on, and then it makes it even more heartbreaking when he's the one that has to kill Dwight. So I still would like to hold out hope Dwight's coming back and that Daryl will have to put Dwight down.
Time will tell, man.
Because I don't think there's anybody Daryl's going to put Carol down for.
Yeah.
I don't see him killing Carol unless she's about to slice a kid's throat or something,
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope it's not Magna and Yumiko.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely wouldn't do the scene justice. But
no.
We'll see.
Oh, I wish somebody really good at video editing would animate that.
Oh God.
Just animate it and just let us do the voices.
Yeah.
Let me hear your best animal call.
I do.
Come on, man. Do the Bigfoot call. Do the Bigfoot noise.
Oh, geez, I forgot what that even sounds like. Something like that.
That just sounds like the "Are You Afraid of the Dark?" like Wilhelm scream or whatever.
I don't remember.
That is, if I heard a Bigfoot doing that in the woods, I'd be terrified.
Yeah. Sometimes that's how they just kind of get you out of their territory. So.
Moo! It's my brother.
God,
all right, man. We're both sleep deprived, and I'm rambling like a moron. So I think it's time to officially wrap this one up. But thank you so much for the questions. We love them. I love this podcast so much. So please just load it up with Walking Dead what ifs. And again, there are so many different. If you ever feel like you're because some people will be like, I can't think of anymore. So many different things. Like, what if Rick never had his psychological breakdown and never saw Lori? Like, I was thinking that when he's talking to Tyrese and Sasha and them, like, you know, Herschel, he's telling them no, but then Herschel's kind of getting through to him, and he's like, I'm telling you, man to man, you're wrong on this one. Mm. You got to start giving people a chance. And Rick's kind of looking like he might turn around with Tyrese with some kind of ultimatum. Like, okay, you can stay, but you're going to have to. Like, he was considering letting them stay. So how would that have played out if he didn't see dead Lori in the rafters? How would he have reacted? You know, so that's a great discussion. If you want to talk about that one, leave that in the comment section. What if Rick would have decided to just try to kill the governor when he was having that meeting with him? You know, it's a lot of Walking Dead what ifs out there. So just throw them in the comment section so we can keep this thing going. And in the meantime, check back Wednesday for our Weird Wednesday.
Do it.
And check out our Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get 2 extra podcasts a week. And that's 8 extra podcasts a month. And I think it's worth $1.
Yeah, man.
I think it's worth like 5 or 10. So if you want to throw 5 or 10 on there, you go right ahead. But even if you throw $1, we appreciate you. We love you. And it helps us out a ton. In the meantime, we're going to go take a nap.
I'm down for that. Either that or a pick-me-up. I don't know.
I'm going to go get an energy drink. But we'll see you on Wednesday. Hopefully more awake, more alert. Patrons, we'll see you tomorrow. We love you. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead.